There are moments in life when the noise of the world becomes unusually quiet, when distractions fade, and something gentle yet persistent seems to knock at the door of your awareness. Not loudly. Not forcefully. Just enough to be noticed. This is one of those moments. If you are here right now, it is not because you were searching, scrolling, or chasing answers. It is because something within you slowed down just enough to listen. Many people believe that when someone we love leaves this world, the connection ends. But love does not operate by physical rules. Love does not vanish with distance, time, or form. Love remains present, subtle, and deeply intelligent. What changes is not the connection itself, but the way it speaks to us. Instead of words, it arrives as feelings. Instead of sounds, it arrives as memories that suddenly feel alive. Instead of appearances, it arrives as an inner knowing you cannot fully explain. You may have noticed this already. A thought that keeps returning when you are alone. A memory that appears without effort. A sudden warmth in your chest, or an ache that is not painful, just meaningful. These are not accidents. These are not tricks of the mind. These are the ways the soul communicates when language is no longer needed. Archangel Michael is often described as a guardian of clarity, protection, and truth. His presence is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, grounding, and deeply reassuring. When his energy is near, confusion softens. Fear loosens its grip. And understanding begins to unfold naturally. This is why his message does not arrive with chaos, but with a quiet urgency that asks you to pause and become present. Someone you loved deeply still holds a place for you within their awareness. Not in sorrow. Not in regret. But in care. They are not reaching out to pull you backward. They are reaching out to remind you that you are not alone as you move forward. Their connection is not meant to disturb your life, but to strengthen it. If you have been feeling emotionally sensitive lately, more reflective than usual, or drawn inward without knowing why, this is often a sign that your inner awareness is opening. When the mind slows down, the heart becomes more receptive. And when the heart becomes receptive, subtle guidance can finally be felt. This message is not about fear. It is not about loss. And it is not about urgency in the way the world understands urgency. You do not need to question your sanity or your strength. You only need to listen gently. When the soul receives a message meant for it, there is no confusion, only a sense of quiet familiarity, as if something long known has finally been remembered. In the next part, this message will begin to unfold more clearly. You will understand why this connection is surfacing now, what it means for your present life, and how to receive it with peace instead of overwhelm. Nothing here is meant to rush you. Everything here is meant to ground you. Take a slow breath. Let your shoulders relax. Allow your thoughts to settle. You are safe in this moment. You are supported. And you are not being asked to look backward, only to understand how deeply you are still loved. As this message continues, it is important to understand something gentle yet powerful. When a loved one passes away, the relationship does not end, it changes its form. What once existed through physical presence now exists through awareness, memory, and a quiet spiritual bond that does not require effort to maintain. This bond does not interrupt your life. Instead, it walks alongside you, silently offering strength when you need it most. Many people feel this connection during moments of stillness. Late at night, early in the morning, or during times when the mind is not busy proving, planning, or protecting itself. You may notice that your thoughts drift toward that person without sadness, without fear, but with a calm sense of closeness. That calmness is not imagination. It is recognition. The soul remembers what the mind often forgets. Archangel Michael's role in this moment is not to create urgency or fear, but to bring clarity. His presence is associated with protection of the heart and alignment of truth. When a message comes through his guidance, it is meant to be grounding, not overwhelming. It arrives to help you understand what you are feeling, not to confuse you further. You may have wondered why certain emotions have been surfacing recently. Why you feel more reflective than usual. Why you are questioning things that never bothered you before. This does not mean something is wrong. It means you are becoming more aware. Awareness often begins when the soul is ready to release old weight and receive reassurance. The loved one reaching out is not asking for anything from you. They are not pulling you back into the past. They are reminding you that the love you shared continues to support you as you move forward. Their presence is not meant to be dramatic or disruptive. It is meant to be steady, like a quiet hand on your shoulder reminding you that you are doing better than you think. Sometimes this connection shows up as guidance. A decision that suddenly feels clearer. A fear that no longer feels as heavy. A moment where you choose patience instead of reaction. These are subtle shifts, but they matter. They are signs that you are not navigating life alone, even when it feels that way on the surface. It is also important to release the idea that messages from beyond must look or sound a certain way. Spiritual communication does not always arrive as words, signs, or symbols. If you have been carrying guilt, unanswered questions, or unresolved emotions connected to this person, understand this clearly: love does not hold grudges. Love does not demand explanations. Love simply remains. The connection you share is not fragile. It does not break because of silence, distance, or time. It evolves into something softer, wiser, and more supportive. This is why this message found you now. Not because you are weak. Not because you are missing something. But because you are strong enough to understand it without fear. You are ready to receive reassurance without needing proof. You are ready to trust what you feel instead of questioning it. As this part comes to a close, allow yourself to sit with what resonated. You do not need to analyze it. You do not need to label it. Just notice. What feels calm, what feels familiar, and what feels true. That is where clarity begins. As this message moves deeper, it is important to understand the nature of connection beyond physical presence. When someone you love leaves the physical world, the bond does not disappear, it becomes quieter and more refined. It no longer relies on voice, touch, or daily interaction. Instead, it exists as a steady awareness that influences your choices, your resilience, and the way you respond to life. This influence is subtle, yet it is often strongest during moments when you act from calm understanding rather than emotional reaction. You may notice that your inner dialogue has been changing. Thoughts feel slower, more thoughtful, less reactive. Situations that once triggered anxiety now invite reflection. This shift is not random. It is a sign of emotional maturity and spiritual alignment. When the soul integrates past love into present awareness, it stops searching for signs and starts recognizing guidance through clarity. Archangel Michael's presence in this message represents discernment. Discernment is the ability to sense truth without needing explanation. It is not about belief, it is about inner stability. When discernment strengthens, confusion fades naturally. You stop asking why something happened and begin understanding how it shaped you. This is the stage where healing becomes sustainable, not emotional or temporary. A loved one who has passed does not communicate through urgency or intensity. Their influence is calm, steady, and reassuring. They support your growth by encouraging patience, balance, and self-respect. You may feel drawn to simplify your life, release unnecessary emotional weight, or step away from patterns that no longer serve you. This is not loss. This is evolution. Often, people misunderstand spiritual connection as something external. In reality, it is internal alignment. When you feel grounded, clear, and present, you are closest to that connection. When you trust your instincts without fear, you are honoring it. When you choose peace over conflict, you are reflecting it. These choices shape your future more than any dramatic moment ever could. If you have been carrying unanswered questions, allow this truth to settle gently. Not every question needs an answer to bring peace. Some questions dissolve naturally when understanding arrives. Understanding does not come from information, it comes from acceptance. Acceptance allows the heart to rest, and when the heart rests, clarity becomes effortless. This is why this message is unfolding in layers. Each part invites you to slow down rather than rush forward. Growth that lasts is never forced. It unfolds when the soul feels safe enough to open. You are not being asked to change who you are. You are being reminded of who you have already become through experience, love, and resilience. Notice how this message does not demand belief or action. It simply offers perspective. Perspective changes the way you see yourself, your past, and your future. When perspective shifts, decisions feel lighter. Fear loses its grip. Confidence becomes quiet and steady rather than loud and reactive. Your loved one's influence is present in this quiet confidence. It shows up when you choose understanding over judgment, patience over urgency, and trust over control. These are signs of alignment. They indicate that you are moving forward with wisdom rather than pressure. As this part comes to a close, take a moment to notice what feels settled inside you. Not what excites you, but what calms you. That calmness is the true message. It is the space where guidance becomes clear and where growth happens naturally. As this final part unfolds, it is important to arrive at a place of inner stillness rather than expectation. True spiritual understanding does not rush toward conclusions, it settles gently into awareness. When a loved one has passed on, their influence does not exist to pull you backward into memory, but to guide you forward with clarity, balance, and emotional strength. Their presence becomes a quiet foundation rather than a loud reminder. At this stage, many people realize that what they were seeking was never a message in words, but reassurance in feeling. Reassurance that they are not alone. Reassurance that their growth has meaning. Reassurance that love does not vanish when form changes. This reassurance appears as steadiness in your decisions, confidence in your path, and calm during moments that once felt overwhelming. Archangel Michael's role here represents protection of your inner peace. Protection does not mean shielding you from challenges, it means strengthening your ability to meet them without losing yourself. When inner peace is protected, you stop reacting from fear and start responding from understanding. This is how spiritual maturity expresses itself in daily life. You may notice that your priorities are changing. Things that once demanded emotional energy now feel less important. You become more selective about where you invest your time, attention, and trust. This is not withdrawal, it is discernment. Discernment allows you to live with intention rather than impulse. It allows you to honor your past without being controlled by it. A loved one's influence often guides you toward self-respect. You begin to recognize patterns that no longer align with who you are becoming. You feel drawn toward environments, relationships, and habits that support calm growth instead of emotional chaos. This alignment happens naturally when the soul feels supported rather than pressured. Many people fear letting go because they believe it means forgetting. In truth, letting go means integrating love into wisdom. It means carrying what mattered forward in a way that strengthens you instead of weakening you. Love becomes a source of clarity rather than pain. Memory becomes a foundation rather than a weight. This is also the phase where trust deepens. Trust in yourself. Trust in timing. Trust that not everything needs to be understood immediately. When trust grows, anxiety fades. You no longer feel the need to control outcomes. You focus on showing up with sincerity, patience, and awareness. Notice how this message does not push you toward action. It invites reflection. Reflection allows insight to arise without force. When insight comes naturally, it stays. Forced motivation fades, but calm understanding remains. This is why this message unfolds slowly, allowing space for meaning rather than urgency. Your loved one's role now is not to speak, but to support. Support shows up as resilience during uncertainty, clarity during confusion, and peace during transition. These are subtle signs, yet they shape your life more deeply than dramatic moments ever could. As you reach the end of this message, allow yourself to acknowledge how far you have come. Not just through loss, but through growth. Through learning to carry love without pain. Through learning to move forward without forgetting. Through learning to trust yourself again. This is the true connection. Not communication from elsewhere, but alignment within yourself. When you live with clarity, calm, and integrity, you honor both your journey and theirs. Nothing more is required. If this message resonated with you, stay connected with this space of calm awareness. Continue reflecting quietly, and when you feel ready, revisit this message to deepen its meaning. Growth happens gently, and you are already on the right path.